1.
Year 9, Year 10, Year 11, welcome to some revision on how best to describe people. It's a difficult task. On your EQA paper or your Edexcel paper, you might be asked to describe a person or people, and it's difficult to do. Stay with me for this video. I'm going to show you an example of what I have done. If you are aiming high, you must think about using extended metaphor. It is essential, I think, for the grade 7, the grade 8, the grade 9. If you are given a face or a long shot of a person or a medium shot of a person, don't just describe it literally. Take it somewhere else. Now, that is going to come down to your reading. Now, if you aren't a lover of reading, which happens to some of us, think about other stories that you do know. So for me, I love Greek mythology. But beyond that, you can think about fairy tales. You can think about a story you've seen in a film. So don't discount your reading. It will take you to a different level. Think about if the reader is bored. If I'm reading exam papers or responses, there's nothing worse than being bored. And if the person reading it is bored, then they're not taking in what you're saying. So try and grip the reader instantly. Don't waffle. Think about how you paragraph, how you punctuate, and the language devices that you use. Some quick wins that I always tell my students to do is the dash will replace the comma. So when we are trying to use a range of punctuation, you should already do the full stop and you should already do the comma. The dash will work in the same way as the comma, so use it. And there's another, what I would call a higher order punctuation mark, because not many people will choose to use it. And there's an example there. Hair that was draped over her shoulders, as though feeling the rejection she had felt over the years, like a used item in a bargain store, desperate to be valued. Very, very simple. And then what I've done there is just worked in a simile for that language device. Your next quick win is the colon. Try and use it for emphasis as well. Ensure that the section before the colon is a sentence. Okay, you can't just put a colon anywhere. It needs really to follow the sentence if you are trying to emphasize something after it. So, again, an example. Those eyes had an amphibious quality as though beyond the realms of humanity. Colon, subtly transforming from a deep black to a translucent white. So if you remove the bit after the colon, you still have a sentence there. Again, key punctuation. Again, a quick win. If you're struggling with the colon, put 3 abstract nouns and a colon together. And you don't have to overthink it, and then the sentence will follow that. Isolation, denial, misery. A burden too heavy to carry, and yet it was as if these emotions made up her countenance. So again, you're not overthinking it, it's just there, it is a quick win. If you're struggling to start your writing, a lot of students that I have taught always say, I don't know how to start. Have 3 abstract nouns ready to go. Use your colon, and your sentence follows it. Again, gripping the examiner from the start. Another quick win that, in my experience, as examiners like to see, is there a link between the opening and the ending? Because that is structural manipulation. Now, you can do that by using similar vocabulary. You can have a carbon copy of your opening sentence, although I tend not to love that. A copy of the opening with a slight difference. Sorry, I've missed the N out of opening there, silly typing error. Or a juxtaposition to the opening. So if you start in one way, you might end with the direct opposite, but I'm going to show you that in just a second. It was hard for me to decide on a face, so what I thought I would do is just take a famous face. So we've got this famous picture of Marilyn Monroe. She's looking off to the side. You've got things we can focus on. Now, as a student, what you don't want to do is think, I'm overawed. What on earth do I do? How do I begin? Break it down. Okay, it's too much to try and describe her entire face like that. So what I would do is I will break it down. So I have decided that I'm going to start with her eyes. So that is going to be number 1. Number 2 will be the mouth area, the teeth, the smile, etc. And number 3, possibly the hair. But this is just suggestions. You could do her posture. You could do the way her fingers in her mouth and what that portrays. But remember, what we are focusing on here is not a literal description of Marilyn Monroe. What can we do with language devices, punctuation, and metaphor? This is the example of my description of her eyes. Okay, so stay with me. I'm going to start with the 3 abstract nouns in the colon like I advised. Isolation, denial, misery. A burden too heavy to carry, and yet it was as if these emotions made up her countenance. Perhaps most notably, her eyes illuminated the room with deception. The deceit was in the happiness with which she infected onlookers and altered the entire atmosphere within a single room. However, behind the eyes lay a sleeping monster, a mythological kraken, waiting to be summoned, and the facade holding this monster was beginning to weaken. So if we were taking this apart piece by piece, you have got your triple at the beginning, 3 abstract nouns, followed by the colon. The examiner's going to be loving that. Then we've got the metaphor, because I've said that those 3 emotions are a burden that have to be carried around, which obviously they're not. You don't carry emotion. Okay? The next thing I've got is I've started to various sentence beginnings. We start with isolation, and then it moves to perhaps, and then it moves to however. So very simple manipulation of sentence beginnings. You have also got the semicolon after deception. Metaphorical in the sense that her eyes light up an entire room. Metaphor in the fact that she infects the atmosphere. And then the metaphor of the sleeping kraken. Again, I told you I love Greek mythology. Pick up a couple of Greek myths, guys. The kraken, Medusa, the sirens, the harpies. They're quick things we can reference. Okay? So all of that so far is metaphorical, and none of it really is literal. Okay? Now, don't feel overawed if you're watching this video and English is not your strength. Don't forget that, I have been to university. But what you can pick up from me is the advice and steal ideas. Paragraph 2, I said would be her mouth area. So this is what I've gone for. If one can avoid eye contact, then her smile takes on a Greek myth of its own, the sirens. So look again at where I've put the comma there. Emphasises the fact that I'm going to describe the sirens. Enchanting, luring, ensnaring, men of all generations fall victim. And yet this smile holds within it a vulnerability so raw, even the simplest of touches could prove fatal. Red lipstick accentuates the whiteness of her perfectly placed teeth and serves to juxtapose something innocent with a warning sign. A battle between the two seems constant, with the latter always being the victor. Again, if you look, your punctuation is there. We've got the comma that emphasises the sirens. You have also got your change in sentence beginnings. You have got your reference to Greek myth. You have got a battle, so another metaphor, the battle between innocence and warning. This idea that the red lipstick has 2 sides to it. Okay. Again, steal ideas. And then finally, my 3rd paragraph. This is not obviously a full response. It's just something quick for you. It was her hair. I'm going to tell you the truth. It took me a few minutes more to do this bit than it did the others. So the hair. Perhaps, in hindsight, I should have done her posture, but here we are. There was a subtlety about the way her hair draped over her shoulders, as though feeling the years of rejection, like a used item in a bargain store, desperate to be valued. To the naked eye, it hangs delicately. A closer observation will reveal a story of a woman longing for love. And so the burden would not only remain, it would prevail. Isolation, denial, misery. We end as we began. There's just a slight difference there, that the burden that she carries is going to win. We finished with the 3 abstract nouns that I started with, so we've got that cyclical link. In this paragraph, you've got the dash like I told you to use. It is also supporting a clause that could be removed. You've got the simile of the bargain store. Okay, now, the bargain store. Naturally, you'll be younger than me. The bargain store is a reference to Dolly Parton. Now, again, if you're not a big reader and you're struggling for ideas, use music. You will get ideas from the likes of singers, from probably your most famous singers who use metaphor. Your Eminems of the world, your Drakes of the world, your Beyoncés of the world will use metaphor. Look at their lyrics. So I've just stolen Dolly Parton there because she's got a song about the bargain store where her body has been used. So don't forget that ideas and creativity is all around us, guys. This was something quick on describing people. You can follow me on Instagram and